Do, 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 do. Hey, live stream's up early, so I'll just wait for people to show up other than myself. Like the fire in the background. Hey, somebody else joined. Who's that? Let me type in the chat here. Say howdy. Howdy. Board Madness, how you doing? I sent out a couple of days notice I was going to do a live stream, and of course, it's not like I'm some super huge YouTuber or anything like that, so it's not like I got tons and tons of people hanging out, but it's pretty cool anyhow. So welcome to the garage. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's. How's everybody doing? All three of you, one of which is me, dialed into my own chat so I can read the scroll. Rumor tells it that there might be a random melee that might appear. We don't know. Let's see. Yeah, we're doing well. Board Madness, as well as can be expected. It's been a crazy year for everybody worldwide, obviously. We were no exception. Hold on, I got goop in my eye. I'm crying. I'm so happy to be on air. Anyhow, oh, wait a minute. As promised, some Christmas cheer. A little bit of Elijah Craig bourbon. And a glass that Melly got me a while back, which from the camera's perspective is backwards, I guess. I don't know, but there's a 308 round in that. It's a bin shot glass. But is noon too early to start drinking? Don't worry, I'm not driving nowhere, so it's just us hanging out in my garage. Even though there's fake fire going on in the background there, it's actually nice and warm in here. Got the heater going. I had to, the garage has a through-the-wall heater AC unit. Was one of the things I put in this past summer. I wired a dedicated 240-volt line, 20-amp circuit for it. But it makes a lot of noise, so it is off, and then I've got like this little portable oil heater down here on the right. So, let's see. This is a weird setup, I gotta say. This is the second time I've done a live stream for the old YouTube channel because I'm trying to get back into the swing of doing videos and all that kind of stuff. Hey, Merry Christmas, Craig. How's it going? Got 4 people now. Woohoo! I might beat my record from the last live stream. It's crazy. I think the last live stream, which was I should have renamed that to COVID Madness, but we were in the old garage on last live stream, which was, geez, I think over a year ago. And it was just hanging out because everything was locked down and it was raining. Today it is snowing outside here in Michigan. Maybe not so much snow as like sleet, kind of freezing rain stuff, which will be good times later on to go out into. So hopefully I don't have to go anywhere. But we got Barney on the lift. I finally have a lift so that my old decrepit 50-year-old back doesn't blow out every time I go to work on the bike. West Virginia. Hey, Craig, interesting story. Melly and I, last year, we rode the Royal Enfield Himalayans, and later on in the live stream, I'll go and walk around and show everybody the bikes. But for Christmas, was that 2019? Yeah, Christmas 2019. I had blew some money out of savings, and I bought a pair of Royal Enfield Himalayans from Spartan Cycle here in Clinton Township, Michigan, which is like, it's north metro area of Detroit, north of where we live. And so we went on a couple of tours with them, and one of them we rode down from Michigan down through Ohio, through Kentucky, Tennessee, and we rode through, like, you know, the Smoky Mountains, Gatlinburg, Cherokee, got on the Blue Ridge Parkway, took it all the way up north until it ended, and then we cut across through West Virginia. And if you guys out there are motorcyclists and you want a hell of a nice ride, you don't have to go to a bunch of fancy national parks or go ride the Dragon, you know, down in Tennessee. You could actually just go to West Virginia. Damn near every state route we took cutting across the state had more switchbacks and twisty freaking mountain roads than anything I had rode through on the Blue Ridge Parkway, which was pretty intense. If you like to ride twisty roads, just travel across West Virginia. You'll have a good time. If you see me looking down here, it's because I got my laptop and I'm checking out the chat scroll. And there's a little bit of a delay, so if you post something up, I might not see it the second it comes up. But yeah, West Virginia is a hell of a nice state to ride on. Had I known you got somebody watching from West Virginia, I would have looked on the map to figure out exactly where the hell we rode through. We cut out of the Blue Ridge Parkway around Roanoke, and then kind of across up through West Virginia down into like south eastern Ohio, like Hocking Hills area, and we kind of snaked our way through West Virginia. It was pretty cool. There's a couple of mornings it was really cold and foggy, and I think Melly and I were about ready to freeze to death, and then the fog lifted in a mountain valley, and we're down like by a river, and there's like this just like a diner on the edge of the river. We walked in there and had breakfast and warmed up, and then the rest of the day was freaking awesome. So West Virginia is a good place. Go ride your motorcycle through it sometime. Well, obviously, except for you, Craig, you live there. So anyhow, now's your time to ask any questions. I see people popping in and out of the chat. I don't imagine I'm going to have a ton of viewers. We'll see. I think we're getting pretty good performance here out of the old Wi-Fi. Hopefully it's, the screen's not delayed or anything for you guys. All right, so Craig says, West Virginia has 35,000 miles of, oops, I didn't catch that. Roads, it's near the Ohio River. I'm not sure if we rode through Parkersburg or not. Tell you what, let's see what Google Earth shows. Since I have interwebs at my fingertips here, I can give it a look-see and see if I can figure out where exactly we rode through. This would have been last July, I believe. No, I take that back. That's not true. It was September. I remember because when we were in Gatlinburg, I found a place that had Paulaner Oktoberfest Marzen close to the area we were staying in Gatlinburg. So let's see if I can figure out where the heck we went through. One second here. Oh yeah, absolutely. We actually rode right through your town there, Parkersburg, without a doubt, because we cut over through Athens, and I think we spent the night in Athens on our way through Ohio. Because on the return trip from our adventure riding through the Blue Ridge Parkway and going through Gatlinburg and all that, we went over and visited my mom who lives in Ohio. So shout out to Mom, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. You probably aren't watching, so my brother I think is going to come and visit this year for Christmas. So none of our family lives in Michigan. Melly and I both moved up here for work. But yeah, I think I'm looking at this as I bore everybody to tears, trying to figure out what state route we took. goes. There's Roanoke. Here's Athens. You know, honestly, I'm not sure. We took a lot of the hole in the wall roads to get that to where we crossed over Ohio. I have to look it up some other day. I don't want to bore everybody to death. Alex, ayo. How's it going, brother? But yeah, for back to Craig, yeah, absolutely. Melanie and I drove through your town on our way back. Yeah, I rode around and through Lisbon once a long time ago. I'm giving a cheers out to Alex and Craig and everyone else who's watching. Not my favorite bourbon, but I'm trying to try some different types. It's Elijah Craig is what that is. How is the Wi-Fi coming through for you? Or not Wi-Fi. How is the audio and video quality coming through? I'm on a range extender because when we built the garage, my well, the Wi-Fi never worked very well in the garage. I think I had the garage door open in the old garage when I did the live stream. So right now I've got, and I don't remember what model Netgear Nighthawk mesh range extender thingy on, but it seems to work pretty good. That's the only thing that gives me fits is the Amazon Fire TV. Every once in a while wants to drop off the network because it goes into some hibernation mode. Cool, awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. Like the guys, I have a lot of respect for the people that do this stuff as a live stream all the time and have like studio quality audio and video. It takes a lot of gear to do it, and Alex is only getting 140p. Yeah, I don't know what I'm uploading 720. I'm sorry. I'm uploading 1080p at 30 frames per second. So I don't know what the conversion rate is on that for YouTube, like whether they're compressing it down. I think what they do is they do best effort to deliver it to you. And then when the live stream's over, they convert it and save it. Like it's streaming to YouTube's servers and being buffered before it's sent out, which is one of the reasons why I look down at the chat scroll. There's a delay. I think a delay is not just for like if somebody types in something really nasty and you can delete the comment out as kind of the moderator of your live stream, but also because it's a delay of the buffer. There we go. Yeah, I mean here I speed tested the crap out of Wi-Fi network, so who knows? I mean, for Alex, he's in Portugal, so he's getting a live stream buffered across the Atlantic Oceans. If he's getting 720, that's pretty damn impressive, I gotta say. There might be a Melly sighting here later. She didn't promise anything. She's busy in the house doing stuff right now, so like because I'm not working on Barney, she doesn't really see the need to come out here and hang out. But speaking of Barney, I've got the Christmas decorations on. Hopefully the live stream thumbnail had you guys could figure out that was Barney with Christmas lights and the lights off. But let's see. What's interesting is like on the camera side of the live stream, I see the chat pop up for like a split second. If I actually want to read it, I got to wait like 3 seconds or so to see it down on the laptop. Yeah, I'm excited to see what the heck I'm going to do too, Craig. Well, first and foremost, since you're talking about it and we can, what the hell else are we going to talk about? Is good old Barney here. There's been a lot of updates to Barney that didn't necessarily have a DIY video kind of thing going on with it. And one of which was the kind of getting rid of the street tracker thing. And I think I've talked about that before. But, I've shown in the video the TC Brothers fenders are doing front and rear. It doesn't have the fender on the back right now. It's the front one's probably going to be cut down just a little bit from the size of this. This is a 87 Honda Shadow front fender. And so if anybody puts a fat tire on the front of their Honda Rebel, and let's see, can I see the size on this dude? I don't have it memorized. Of course. Yep, so front tire on Barney is a 120/90 18, and it fits on here. It won't fit with the stock fender. You have to get a different fender for the front or not run a front fender. So this is off the same year, 87 Honda Shadow 700. I think those are shaft drive. And all I had to do was elongate one of the mounting holes. They're almost in exactly the right position. The other thing I had to do was the mounting bosses that are on the lower fork sliders. I had to grind maybe less than 1/8 of an inch off of how far they stick inward towards the tire. And that was just so I can machine it down a little bit. I just filed it by hand. And I put a washer on there just so when the bolt was threading into the fender, it wasn't going to deform the mounting surface. And there's plenty of room. I can get my finger back behind there. So when the tire's spinning around, it has the tendency to grow in diameter slightly. This is probably more gap than it needs. But remember, this was not designed for this bike, but it is a Honda fender. I stripped it down and then just put some Eastwood primer, self-etching primer, and Eastwood chassis black on here, which is probably the closest thing we're going to get to the Simonized tough black that they have in Europe and the UK and whatnot. But this stuff's pretty good. You paint old car chassis with it, and as long as the rust and stuff is clean and you got a good primer on there, it'll stick. It's pretty damn durable. Let's see. The back wheel tire. Sorry, I know you can't hear me. I gotta see the size. I can't see it. There it is. 1 second. Why did I make this so hard to read? My old eyes can't read it. Well, it would appear that they put the size on the other side. Oh, no, there it is. It is a 140/90/15. So that's a 140/90/15 on the back. And it actually fit with the original fender. No modification. It's a little close to the rear drum brake stay, but other than that, all of it bolted right on. I won't get into the debate about not using factory Honda tire sizes and whether or not they're safe. But we've ridden this thing for years. Had no problems. I think the turn-in's a little better with the bigger tire on the front. Even when I'm riding on Barney and I kind of look like a circus bear on a friggin' bicycle at that point, but it's still fun to ride. We got a question coming in here. Let's see, back on a project. Yeah, this is the first thing I'm going to be working on in the new garage, Craig. The other thing I didn't talk about in the videos was I mentioned this is like a 75 or 76 Honda CB500T off a Honda Twin. What we did to get this to work with the Honda Rebel was I just took out of some plate steel that I got at the local hardware store. Let me grab a scrap of it. This is about the thickness of it, which is actually thicker than the stuff that was on the original factory tabs. And I made a couple, made a couple of brackets. So I've got a couple of front dog-ear tabbed brackets with a hole drilled through it. And in there, right here, I'm actually using the original factory grommets to mount that on with, along with the factory washer and the factory acorn nut. So basically I welded tabs onto the tank so that the tank would bolt straight to Barney's frame as if it was proper for that bike, including I had to make a rear tab that did the same thing. Now, the only thing that kind of screws me on that is, notice we got bungee cords and this wooden block here for the front of Barney. Well, because of how this seat is from Blue Collar Bobbers, and because I want to use this fuel tank because it's bitchin', right? It's a cool looking fuel tank, and when I get the Honda emblems on, imagine this, if you will, that's Barney purple, like the color of the frame, like with bigger metal flake in it, and this panel inset black. So it'll be two-tone. I'm going to keep the stripe on it, but this might be like a kind of a bronze stripe, and then the Honda logo, because I've got it's an actual emblem. It's not a decal, and it just presses in there. It's going to look pretty cool, and this has like a factory, almost like cafe racer style meat cuts in the tank. But yeah, it's got so basically the tabs in the locations they would be for the Rebel tank are what I made brackets for and welded them to this tank. And there was already structure on the tank designed for the CB style mounting system. So I just welded to that. So I didn't have to worry about blowing holes through the tank because I was too aggressive with the welder. Because I was welding like, 1/8" steel onto 1/8" steel, not this thinner sheet metal that the tank's made out of. Yeah, so the first thing, which will be whenever I get around to doing it, the first project or video is going to be going over the tank and the seat. I'll probably take this off and show everybody how it's mounted. And then it's going to be making the front pivot mount for the Springer seat here. Because right now it's just floating in air. The only thing that's holding it on is the back. So the bracket on the frame is from Blue Collar Bobbers, as is the seat. But the front bracket from them, let's see. So this is their front bracket, and it is designed to mount to a factory Honda Rebel fuel tank, and the plate mounts in the factory locations. And this is a piece of aluminum that's powder coated. It's pretty cool. I can't use it because of the relocated rear mounts for the fuel tank. It just doesn't work. So I've got a piece of this really thick metal like this. I started making this before the garage got torn down, and I just haven't followed up with it. So basically what this dude's job is I use a couple of Delrin bushings. It's actually a little narrower than this factory bracket, or not factory, Blue Collar bracket. And that's this pivot bolt for the Springer seat. So I have to build a bracket to adapt my mounting plate to the Blue Collar Bobbers front seat pivot. But I need to noodle out how to do it so you can still get to the mounting bolt so you can take everything apart. Because otherwise, last thing I want to do is weld it up, make it look cool, and then not be able to friggin' take the thing apart. Or make it such a pain in the ass to take it apart that it takes way too much time. And I think the obvious solution didn't occur to me at first. There's a bracket bolted to the bottom of the seat itself. I'm just gonna re-engineer that thing to get the pivot point where it needs to be so I can still take the tank on and off without having an interference from the bolt that holds on the seat. But I'm not gonna get into that right now. I'll cover that in the video. But I think that's gonna be the first kind of getting back to things video. Should be getting Melly out here in the garage to do that, because I think I'm gonna have her weld up the bracket. We'll kind of look at it and figure it out together and have her run the welder. I've got to get her a smaller set of gloves. She took a couple of welding courses, and this is probably the easiest thing to weld. I mean, it's thick metal. You could just do a bunch of tacks side by side, and I'm going to grind it down anyhow and powder coat it. So, it doesn't have to be the prettiest welds, but at least, it gets Melly and I both back involved getting Barney knocked out, and it'll be fun. And plus that's one more thing done on the bike, because Barney could run right now. Barney was running when we tore Barney apart. Really, it's just plugging the wiring harness back in and, putting the battery in it and firing it up. It'll run just fine. Everything we're doing is all cosmetic. Barney was in good condition when we started working on Barney as a project. And the main reason why we started working on Barney as a project is because Melly got a Speedmaster that has a lot more power. So neither one of us really need Barney, but Barney's not going anywhere because now, Mel didn't have the heart to get rid of the bike. We didn't sell it, which we thought about also. So we said, screw it. It's just going to become the project bike. Yeah, I agree. I'm actually looking at possibly picking up. So in the garage, I have wired in a 50 amp welder plug on a dedicated circuit. but my welder is a Hobart Handler 140. It's actually just designed to go in a standard wall outlet. So I have future-proofed the garage, so if I want to get a better welder, like a multi-process welder, I can, even though I only know how to, like, MIG weld. I don't know how to TIG weld yet. But with the 50 amp plug, I can get something that Hobart makes. I think other companies make, obviously, a bunch of companies make plasma cutters, but Hobart makes one with its own compressor, and it's really small. So you just plug it in, and the only thing you got is the consumables, which is like, the electrode tips, and that's it. Its own little air compressor. You don't have to worry about having, air dryer line and compressor and all that other stuff. You just plug it in, turn it on. If you got to cut some steel, you just cut through it. It'll cut some pretty thick stuff pretty aggressively, which beats the hell out of constantly going over things with a cutoff wheel on a grinder, and hoping it doesn't shatter on you and put a piece of it into your forehead. I'm never quite happy with using the right angle grinder as a cutoff wheel. I know I've done it. Everybody does it. I keep the guard on mine. I see other people do it without the guard on there. But if it is entirely possible to have one of those pieces of cutoff wheel to explode on you and leave little chunks all over the place. Hola! Cheers, Lola. Let's see. Wow. I don't know how many people were actually in my little chat room here. Looking down at the chat scroll again. Salud. They need better tools for this. I don't know if I do another live stream anytime soon. Maybe I'll do one around New Year's or something if I don't get time to put a video out. I need to put the announcement that I'm going to do it out well in advance. I did 2 days before, but the thing about the live streaming and YouTube and all that, I don't really care for politics and all that nonsense. It doesn't bother me at all. I mean, obviously I care about stuff, but there are people that make a living out of, stirring the pot of fecal material when it comes to politics. And then they get ticked off when YouTube like throttles their channel and all of that because they're talking about extremely controversial subjects. YouTube is a private company. It's a private platform. So I figure, well, I'll play by their rules because really this is all fun for me. This is fun for Melly and I. We do this because it's fun. We get to hang out with all of you guys. It's placebo warmth for sure, yeah. And I also have a heater going on over here because it is snowing outside right now. We may get 1, 2, 3 inches, but I think it's weird. When we get weather that rolls into the Detroit metro area, mostly the weather in the United States travels from west to east. And when it gets up to Michigan, especially when it gets around the Detroit metro area, because there's so much mass of the city that generates heat, from people's houses and cars and that kind of thing, the weather tends to do like that. It'll either go south or it'll go north. And so sometimes we don't get that much change in weather. Like some areas are going to probably get a decent amount of snow. We're mainly just getting kind of a little bit of freezing rain mix with like some sleet pellets that are falling down. And it's really just annoying more than like pretty. Like snow always looks great when it first falls until it gets sloppy and slushy and road grime, and it just becomes a mess. Then it's more of a hassle. We've been living here a long time now. I guess we're used to it. But yeah, so the garage has actually stayed quite warm. The heater did a good job. I should have turned it on earlier, the one I built into the garage, but so that you guys could hear me, I had to shut it off. So I have to use my little oil space heater here. Yeah, I look at YouTube, so I stay away from politics also. I basically stay away from politics and news and all that crap anymore because quite honestly, it doesn't have anything to do with myself, my friends, Melly, motorcycles, and the stuff that we enjoy doing. the interesting thing about YouTube is while a lot of people talk crap about it and the fact that it can be quite a cesspool from time to time, um, it allows me to reach out and talk to people that have common interests because, my neighbors don't ride motorcycles. They probably hate my guts because sometimes it's a little noisy over here. All those guys in the motorcycles moved to the neighborhood. It's going straight downhill from here. You know, a lot of the people I know and consider good friends, I met through YouTube and also like forums about, motorcycles and all that kind of stuff. So I take this whole nonsense of social media online with a giant grain of salt, and I don't take myself too seriously. Therefore, I'm not going to get my panties in a wad over every little thing and just walk around pissed off and rage all the time. It's not worth it. Life's too short. Technically, the through the wall heater that I have is a heat pump. It's just not the kind where they mill out kind of like the heat exchanger into the earth. The thing I have in here is a through the wall heater AC combo, and I forget the specs of it. You know what? Well, I don't want to walk away from the camera. It's boring for you guys. I was gonna say, I think I've got the user manual in one of my drawers here in the garage, but as long as there's a good 20-degree differential between the inside air the outside air and what temperature I'm trying to shoot for, it can heat it up pretty good in here. So as long as it's not like below 10 degrees Fahrenheit, it works pretty good. But it's not your traditional. See, in the US, when people have a heat pump, what they have is like I'm not sure if it's truly ethylene glycol or not, but they dig trenches in your yard and they bury tubing extremely deep, almost like you're digging wells, and they'll be like straight down. So you'll have a series of trenches, almost like a septic system. That's the word I'm looking for. And then they'll do just direct, horizontal bores, like, extremely deep. And then you get a tube of ethylene glycol that like loops between each one of these holes that are dug straight down in the field. And then you've got a pump that's constantly circulating that around. And the idea is you're extracting the heat out of the deep ground, and then you have the heat exchanger and heat pump assembly in your house. And usually there's some kind of supplemental heat with that, like an electric heater or a gas forced air heater. But usually if you say to somebody in the US, hey, have you got a heat pump? That's what they think of. But technically these through the wall AC units are also heat pumps. Interesting, like this is basically a smaller version of what you'd see in a hotel. So if you go to a hotel, you go into your room and you look by the window, there's usually some big unit that goes through the wall there. That's exactly what this is called. Those specific heater AC combos have some acronym I don't remember, like small package, like heat, whatever. Like it's got a specific name in the industry, and they're really expensive. Like to put the same amount of heat and cold out that this one does, I think it would have been about $1,300 US starting price. This was less than half of that. Yeah, mini split what you can get as a mini split here is mainly for air conditioning. You could totally get one of those and install it yourself, but heater wise, they're not so great. This thing works great, but the only problem with it is that it's, when the fan's running and I'm working in here, it doesn't bother me. It's not that loud, but because the camera has a condenser mic in it, it would be deafening. All you would hear is in the background from the fan running. So I let it get the room up to temperature, and then I turn on my little space heater here so that like it keeps the temperature constant without the fan running. But it's what we do, I have not worked out here when it's been below 0 outside Fahrenheit, which is, well, it's cold in anybody's book, but it's really cold when you talk about it in Celsius. And in Michigan, it could get like, there was a couple of years ago when it was, the average temperature in Fahrenheit was, I think, 15 degrees for almost 2 months. This is like 3 years ago or something like that. It was friggin' cold every day, and it didn't let up. And at night with the wind chill, it would get, maybe 10 or 15 below 0, below freezing. Anyhow, it's weird talking about heating and air conditioning in my garage. It works. That's all I can say. Yeah, actually, Melly and I are working on some plans with the Royal Enfields there, Craig. I started a new job, so I had to bank some holiday time. So I have vacation time going into next year that's left over from this year. And my new company's pretty cool, where that like I can keep those carried over days, like 1 week worth of time off, all the way into the next year, and there's no limit as long as I'm not carrying more than a week over to the following year. So I have like a 1 week buffer that I can carry over. So essentially, if you save it like the first year, which is what I did, regardless of how much vacation time I get in addition to that with seniority, I will always have the 1 week buffer that I'm carrying over, trying to push that forward into time. So we should be able to take like 2 weeks for a nice trip. Uh, I'm working on a plan. Well, screw it. I'll tell you guys. We're all friends in here. First off, I have, if you see it back there, the whole reason. So the garage ceiling is really tall by design because I kind of designed it, and then I had the contractor who built the garage go through with the engineering team and make sure my plans were okie dokie and make any changes that were needed, along with what the city had us do. And then they use that as the plans for the garage. So I actually designed the whole damn building for the most part. What I did was from the slab, usually there's just a tiny little bit of the block wall that's used for the foundation that you can see that's exposed. I had them double the block wall up, and then I specifically told them that I wanted the full length 2x4x8s, the studs for the walls. I probably should have done 2x4x6s, or I'm sorry, 2x6x8s, so that I can get more insulation in the walls because I have R15 in here now. But you know what? It's okay, and it saved quite a bit of money. That's like an extra $1,000+ in cash for the different dimensional lumber. Because like everything changes when you add the thicker style studs to your wall. And for the garage, it really doesn't need it. There's not like a second story that's holding any weight up there. It's just attic and storage space. But anyhow, I digress. So I did this, and I talked to the contractors to reduce offcuts and waste. So the amount of scrap we had after the project was done was minimal. So these OSB, the oriented strand board panels that are on the wall back there, they're almost completely 8 foot long because the stud walls were 8 foot long. And the only funky cuts I had was across the ceiling due to the width of the space. But lengthwise, it worked out to even increments, like getting towards the end of the run on the ceiling. It's exactly 4 foot on the end piece, minus maybe 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch of run out of the wall. So you still have to scribe and cut it. But where was I going with all this? Oh, so the whole reason for all that mess and thinking about it in great detail was I bought a Kendon motorcycle trailer that folds in half and stands upright. The trailer's about just under 500 pounds. I think it's like 480 pounds. It only has about maybe 125, 200 pounds worth of tongue weight, depending upon what you got it loaded with. So you could pull it with a small SUV because the total load limit on this is 2,500 pounds, which is a lot. I got the heavy duty axle version of it. You could put 2 full Harley dressers with Road Kings with full baggers loaded with all your crap on it, and then pull that behind a decent size SUV or a small truck and take it anywhere. So I got that just to have for a couple of reasons, but like just so coincided with purchasing the Himalayans a couple years later. And so now I can, riding cross country in the United States sounds really cool, but it's not the same as, like, let's say riding across Europe. There are large stretches of absolutely nothing but straight road for miles and miles and miles when you cut across the middle of the United States. And Melly and I would like to go see the West Coast. So I'm thinking about trailering the Himalayans out to Reno, Nevada, or just south of it. And the plan here, or at least the plan I'm formulating, is I'm going to pay for 1 month of rent at a storage lockup to park the Explorer and the trailer, my truck and trailer, and then we'll just leave from there. It'll be locked up in a secure facility. You don't have to worry about anybody breaking into it and whatnot. And I just put my security deposit down and pay it for a month. And I think a couple of places, the most expensive was like $130 for the entire month. Well, it's only going to be sitting there for like, just a little over a week. So it's cheaper than like, let's say I got an Airbnb and I parked the trailer and the truck there, and we rented that, and we wanted to go out exploring, and maybe we stayed the night over. Well, then we're paying for a hotel twice, or we have to go from Airbnb to be, on and on and on, and having to load and unload the bikes. I just want to cut the middle part, unless we were riding out to Sturgis. I don't really want to ride across the Plain Straits. I've driven cars across, Wyoming and the Dakotas before, and it's a beautiful drive. But riding on a motorcycle on dead straight roads for hours on end, boy, that would be rough. So the plan: trailer them to Reno, park the truck and trailer there, get everything ready, and then start our adventure. So if we head south from Reno, you can come in from the east side of the Yosemite National Forest, right? And so we'll have to go along the upper edge of the mountains and then cut back down through the valley. And I think we'll stay there one night just so we can stay in Yosemite, and then kind of go backtrack slightly to get back on the correct path. And what I want to do is I want to cut north of the whole San Francisco area, because on motorcycles, I don't want to have anything to do with that kind of crazy traffic. Really, I think we'll end up going through like Napa Valley and then head over to the PCH and ride up the US 1, the Pacific Coastal Highway, up to like Oregon, and then just kind of make a big loop through the mountains, so we get to watch, the scenery from the ocean side and kind of like the mountain ranges. I don't really plan. That's like the most planning I'm going to have. The big thing is just planning on where to keep the truck. Everything else we like to do on the fly. When we rode down to Gatlinburg and then along the Blue Ridge Parkway, every night at the hotel we were at that night, I would plan the next night's hotel. I would just sit down, Melly and I would chill out after, getting cleaned up and having dinner and stuff, and we would just figure out what the hell we were going to do the next day. Maybe we stay where we're at one more day, or we go on. That's kind of the point, right? The point of going out on the bikes on a long trip is just to kind of get lost. Really in today's day and age, you've got GPS, you got the internet at your fingertips with your phone, so you're never really truly lost. But it's better than trying to, all right, we're going to this hotel, this hotel, this hotel, and then along these very routes, and you get a very rigid scheduled thing. I don't want to I don't want to do any of that. And I think for Melly and I, it's more fun kind of figuring it out along the way. We've seen some extremely beautiful stuff that I think if we had tried to plan it in advance, we wouldn't have done that. And we've also stayed at some pretty sketchy, horrible hotels too, which is kind of an adventure in and of itself. You've stayed at a sketchy hotel if you've had to take the towels and lay them on the bed because you're paranoid about the critters that may or may not be in the bed because it's such a shithole. Anyhow, so that's one plan. It all depends whether or not people lose their collective minds over whatever next variant of COVID that comes out. Because that seems to be a thing that's just never going to end. Some areas of California, you never know that there was COVID. In other areas, you go into like the major metropolitan areas, there are restaurants you still can't go into. So we'll try and avoid that kind of stuff. Really, it's just about the ride. And I'm not going to Hollywood, and I want to see the Golden Gate Bridge. Maybe sometime we'll fly out there one year and go check it out, but I visited friends in the United Kingdom. I visited friends in Portugal, one of which is on the live stream right now in the chat, or two of which, our friends Alex and Lola, and then we got our friends Derek and Paula, and that live in the UK. I don't want to go into the big cities. I'd rather go out in the countryside. I'd rather go into some pub or some little diner or something that nobody's been, no tourist really goes to. It's just the locals, and just, hang out and experience local life and culture. And that's the same thing in the United States, riding down through the center of Ohio and through rural Kentucky and rural Tennessee. We were going through towns that there's not really major freeways that ever really go through it. So unless you lived around there or you were doing what we were doing, most people would never have seen these towns. So, you see lots of cool and interesting stuff. You get to meet all kinds of cool people. It makes life better to get those experiences. And the same thing holds true to other countries. at some point in time, Ellie and I want to, while we're still young enough to do it, go ride across Europe, and not really have a plan with that either. Just kind of tour around, even if it's like a borrow bike or rent a bike, or, I think people, there are ways to ship via air, small motorcycles like the Himalayans. I think you can get those shipped on an airplane cheaper and faster than it just sitting on a cargo ship somewhere. And if it's like a bucket list trip kind of thing, I think we'd save up and try and make that happen. There are some companies that specialize in that, so who knows? It's stuff that we save up for. We'll figure it out, just like our whatever trip we take. Hell, it might even be just when we first got to Himalayas, the biggest trip that we took was around the, if you hold, I don't know, take and hold your right hand up and look at it, right? And that's kind of the shape of the Mitten State, Michigan. We kind of went all the way around the perimeter of it in July, right? As the first big trip on the Himalayas. And even that was phenomenal. And I mean, that's our own home state. So we didn't have to go an extremely long distance to find some really cool stuff that we had never seen before. And if something came up, oh, I hear a wild Millie. Hey, Mel.
Hi. I like the fire.
Yeah, all I did was just found a Christmas channel that had a fireplace going and turned the volume down so no one's going to hit me for copyright. Take a seat, Mel. I was just talking with Craig Smith on here.
Okay.
They live in West Virginia.
Hi.
I was telling them that we had went through West Virginia on the Himalayas. Oh, now you're shorty. You want to grab the wooden chair?
Oh, dear.
I'll hold your snacks.
Okay.
Oh, you brought the caramel corn.
This is a wild snack. I don't know about this. Got this at work, and the supplier gave a box of bags of popcorn.
It could be anything, huh?
No, it's buffalo blue cheese.
Uh-oh.
This could either be really good
or horrible.
or disgusting. I don't know.
This is from Rachel Michaels Gourmet Popcorn, Monroe Street, Toledo, Ohio. It's not Tony Paco's world famous Hungarian hot dogs there from MASH. I should have got you a taller chair, Mel.
Sorry.
I didn't realize you're going to be such a shorty.
Yeah, well.
I can fix this. Hold on, sit down. You're super short. Here's what we're going to do. There we go. I'll let the air out my seat here. Oh, I love chemistry between us.
Hi, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Cheers.
Happy New Year. Happy holidays. It's warm enough I can take my coat off.
Yes. What do you think you could freeze it out? The whole reason the garage is well insulated and heated is so that Melly doesn't freeze to death. Excellent sweater.
Yeah.
Little reindeers on it.
It's a bunch of Rudolphs.
Oh, they are all Rudolphs.
They are all Rudolphs. It's like the Agent Smith of Rudolphs. They've just kind of
nice Matrix reference.
multiplied. There's even one on the back.
Wow. A Christmas sweater that's not outrageously ugly.
Yeah. Not too ugly.
Well, even if it was a hideous sweater, it would still look awesome because you had it on. So. I have bored everybody to death talking about garage heating and air conditioning, Barney, and I was just chit-chatting about planning our next big adventure for the Himalayas, even though we don't really have that on video. So I was talking about like driving the trailer out, or the bikes on the trailer out to Reno, and then dropping the truck off at a storage yard, and then just riding around through Yosemite and like the Pacific Northwest and all that stuff. Should be cool. Never been out there, so dig into your. I can't wait to see the reaction of how good this popcorn is. It's probably going to be a disaster. You first. So literally, you snagged this from work because nobody else wanted it.
Yes.
That's my Millie. You guys gonna eat that? No? Okay, I'm taking it home.
All right.
Same time?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm not sure. It's spicy.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like it. Oh, that.
Yeah, that one's a lot hotter.
Well, it's definitely blue cheese.
It's actually really good.
Which was with a lot of spice. It's not bad. What's that?
Craig says it's nice that you get Melly involved in the builds and that you are patient with her and give her encouragement. Yeah, and I get paid back by lots of sarcasm and her making fun of me all the time. We wouldn't have it any other way. That's just how we roll. We are now the old married couple, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, who the hell are you calling old, dude? Me. It's a great live stream. Everyone gets to watch us eat.
Oh, well, I can't see the comments unless I get really close. Okay.
Here, let me move the laptop over. Got your glasses on? I got an idea. Why don't we make the zoom bigger? You will never be old. Oh, but I was feeling super old yesterday. Let me give you a story. Our company had a Christmas party, and we went to this place called On the Dunes, which is just like I think it was an old lumber yard, like a giant warehouse building. And so they converted it into kind of like I wouldn't call it a sports arena, but just an indoor place where you could take your kids and your family. And they had all kinds of activities like they had the same indoor golf, like a driving range. They had like an arcade for like kids who don't really want to do this other stuff. They had like hatchet throwing, you know, you could literally throw a hatchet and competition with that. They had this fouling, which is football bowling. And by football, we mean American football, not like soccer or European football. And it's literally bowling pins. And you just throw the bowling or the football at the bowling pins and knock them down, and you score it the same way. Let me tell you, it's really freaking hard to knock down bowling pins with a football because the football bounces. Even if you're just like within a few inches or so, you won't knock the pins down. You have to drop the thing right on top of the pins and knock them down.
Yeah.
And then we played dodgeball. Found a spicy one? I got something to drink. You want some bourbon?
It's spicy.
So yeah, we had our team had a dodgeball tournament, and everybody went bananas. Like nobody, you had a bunch of old farts out there going full balls to the wall on dodgeball, like just winging these things at each other. It was pretty vicious. It's crazy that we all get along, but like when we were out there playing dodgeball, we were just trying to kill each other. And I was like doing Neo from the Matrix, dodging the ball, and I fell over while I was twisting in air, and I had to freaking hobble home. And I texted Mel. I was like, Mel, I'm on the couch. I can't move. So yeah, I was feeling every bit of 50 years old at that point. Not yet. February is when I turned 50, but.
Yep.
Well, that's good, Craig, that you can get out and she doesn't go with a ride with you, which is kind of sad, but you know, I found the most important part about getting Melly into it was to not force her to do it. She had to do it because she wanted to do it. I think a lot of husbands, because they ride, and if the wife shows some kind of interest, like put way too much pressure. Like, oh, you want to go ride? Well, let's go buy a brand new Harley 883 Sportster right now. You know, I've only got a $700 pile of shit is what she, and I fixed it so it got running. And then, you know, well, before that, she took her rider's course with a friend of hers. So it was the two women taking the riding course together. And so they didn't have our husbands bearing down on them. You know, it's funny, like a complete stranger can tell Melly how to do something and like she's perfectly okay with that. But sometimes if I say, you know, you should try this, Melly gets mad at me, but it isn't because she's pissed off at me for making a suggestion. She's just mad at herself. And I happen to be the convenient target.
I try not to do that though.
It still cracks me up.
It's just out of frustration mostly.
Yep, I know that. But see, other people don't get that. And so then you end up having like cats and dogs fighting. Yeah. And then you get a motorcycle sitting in the garage that was bought for the wife that never gets ridden again.
Well, that was more my size too.
Yep.
Than a big old bike.
The other thing that was probably the best turning point was the intercoms. Mm-hmm. We got a pair of Sena S20s, and that made it so that I could tell Mel where traffic was, and if she had questions about stuff, I could answer them. She wasn't kind of left alone in her helmet with her own thoughts, trying to figure all that crap out on the fly.
Yeah.
That made a huge difference.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize in a lot of times, especially at slower speeds, like, you know, going through turns and stuff, that Mel was swinging as wide as she was, and also like kind of like she wasn't feathering the throttle and using the clutch more. And so when you understand like how to maneuver the bike better at slow speeds, like you can actually drag the rear brake while you're at slow speeds, even if you're revving the motor slightly higher and, you know, kind of feathering the clutch. Yeah. It helps you stabilize the bike. And that was like the light bulb. Boom. Once that went off in her head, she did so much better. And then she's like, when are we going to ride next? Which is, excuse me, great. This stool's a little hard on the old ass after yesterday.
You got a hard stool sample.
I got a hard stool sample. Making my ass hurt, Mel. What are you talking about my poop for? I had to go and make it awkward.
You're the one who brought up the stool.
That's because I'm sitting on a stool. Just so everybody can see. It's a stool.
Yeah.
We're gonna eat this whole bowl.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Guess this is lunch.
Mm-hmm. So, hi Alex.
I think Lola popped in there for a little bit.
And Craig Smith, hi. That's all I see so far.
Craig's from West Virginia. We actually rode through his little town.
Okay.
When we cut across our way back from the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Yeah.
And I've already forgotten the name of the town because I'm terrible with names. Alex says, "Hola, Melly."
Hola.
Chat scroll pops up on the camera faster than it
okay.
pops. There's like a delay before.
Oh, yeah. Down here on the laptop.
Yeah, but I have my laptop logged in case we want to type a response in there. But
hola,
hola, Lola. Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah, West Virginia was beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And the roads were great, and all the twisty turnies and hills, and
yeah,
that was a good learning experience. So
Melly was between second and third gear, and I was mostly in second gear most of the time, climbing up the billy goat trails that they call roads in West Virginia. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if anybody wants, I think, of course, we haven't been to the Dragon yet, but like that's 15 miles of twisty roads, you know. And it's world famous. Everybody wants to ride their motorcycle on a Dragon. I think you could just spend a couple of days riding around West Virginia and go through way more twisty roads than the Dragon has on it. As a matter of fact, right before we crossed back over into Ohio, we were coming just out of the mountains. Oh, can we hold that?
Yep.
And there was a switchback coming out of a little town where I guess a semi truck was paying more attention to the GPS than the actual road. And so when they turned the corner to the switchback, the semi truck like high centered on the road, and the wheels on the tractor part of the semi tractor trailer weren't even touching the ground. They were just spinning in air. I don't even know how the guy managed to get the truck that far forward.
Yeah. But it was like a road kind of like this.
Yeah.
And he was coming up.
Yeah, he was going up the hill, and we were coming back down. I mean, he was already stuck when we got there. This wasn't like an accident or anything for us, but traffic was just backed up. And the police saw us. They're like, oh, hey, motorcycles, come on through. Yeah. And we could squeeze right around where the truck had blocked off the road, and we were looking over there. I was like, how the hell did this dude do this thing? But like, that's how like tight the twisties are through West Virginia. I mean, it was some pretty, and we just took state routes. We didn't go on any major freeways through West Virginia. It was all small roads, backcountry roads. And that was awesome. Yeah. The beginning of it was freezing our ass off, but it was cold and foggy that morning.
Yeah.
That was September, right? That we rode?
Yes. Late September, early October.
Well, because of work, our next adventure on our big trip on the motorcycles is going to have to wait till like after July or at the end of July at a minimum. But that might be a good time to go out to the Pacific Northwest because maybe it won't rain every friggin' day.
Hope not.
We got rain suits or, Gore-Tex riding gear for the bikes, but it doesn't make it any more pleasurable to get stuck in the rain. We got pelted with the rain riding back from Frankenmuth in Michigan. We stayed dried until we hit that one giant puddle. And then I had soggy boot and you got soaked too.
Soggy boot.
Somehow I ended up getting a flood of water on my crotch. And so I had soggy diapers. Swamp ass again. Except for it wasn't as hot. It was cold, but we can get lunch at the bowling alley when we go to pick up our bowling ball and stuff later on. Let's plan it. Yeah. Later on today, Melly and I are going to go and get our Christmas presents to each other. We're going to get like bowling balls and shoes and stuff like that because apparently bowling's fun. We didn't realize this until we're full of farts. Best part about it is we can go and get beer there while we're bowling. So excellent.
Well, we knew that.
You got to get some loud, obnoxiously colored bowling ball. Is it going to be turquoise?
I don't know.
You do turquoise and purple. It could be two of Melly's favorite colors that are combined.
Yep. Barney looks nice.
Snowy Ontario.
Hi, Jean. Hi.
Is that Jean or Jean? Is this French Canadian or Canadian? How is that said phonetically?
I'm going with Jean.
Jean?
For now.
Okay. I'll go with that because Melly says.
I don't know. But Honda 200T with Windstar, sorry.
Twin Star.
Oh, sorry, I can't read. Twin Star. Yeah, hope that everybody's well. Yeah, these are spicy.
It's gonna be fun on re-entry. I saw you trying not to laugh at it too.
Yep, Jean, girl. She said she has to clarify. I'm sorry.
Of course, Melly knew it right off the start. It's Jean. I told you. I never claimed to be smart. This is a rumor.
Honda 200 Twin Star. I don't know.
Is that an Africa Twin?
I don't know.
I think it's like an adventure bike, right?
Okay.
Jean will have to tell us what that is. I still find it hilarious we're live streaming eating popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
It's Christmas popcorn. Not really. Well, it was. It was a gift from a supplier, right?
Yep. Yep.
It's tasty because it's free.
She says, not the first time that's happened. Yep.
So what type of bike do you have? We're trying to guess that from the name. As we pack our faces full of popcorn.
Bit of a delay there, though, but
It's not COVID, I swear.
I know.
It's spicy.
It's spicy popcorn, for sure.
I love you, Mel.
Brings a tear to my eye.
The bourbon is not killing the heat at all, let me tell you.
Oh man, yeah. So Greg says he has 6 motorcycles, all different styles for whatever mood he's in. That sounds about right. Oh.
That's even funnier.
Let's see what Alex says. Sorry about all the loud munching. It might be my head amplifying the crunching.
Who's louder? Okay, we got to do a contest now since he said something about it.
All right.
I'll go first. Who has the loudest munch? Your turn. At least 3 pieces.
Okay.
You tried to be quiet?
No. It was a question of mouth closed or mouth open, so.
I just ate like I normally do, like a disgusting pig, so.
Although distance to the microphone might be a factor in the outcome, I don't know.
This is true. How very studious of you. Getting down to the end.
Yep. Oh, sorry, we missed one. So Gene says
81 Honda 200.
Okay.
I don't actually know what that is, so I have to look it up. Honda has a lot of models.
Oh man.
You got eyeshadow fingers now. Hold still, Mel. I'll save us. Let me try not to trip over the 5,000 cords I got everywhere.
Oh, okay, Alex says Mike wins by a nose on the popcorn crunching contest. So, I think it was your distance to the microphone. I think you were closer.
What?
Exactly. Yep. But that's good.
Paper towel.
Oh, thanks.
I'll take that.
Okay.
That's spicy stuff. Oh man.
Maybe Craig can tell us what motorcycles he has.
Oh, yeah.
I guess everybody probably knows what we have.
Yeah.
If they're
We've gone over it in a couple of videos. Scoot your foot. There we go. Sure you want some bourbon?
I'm good.
Spicy popcorn makes the bourbon bite really hard.
A little bit of spicy popcorn makes the bourbon go down. The bourbon go down. Bourbon go down. Anyway. Okay. What else? What else are we talking about?
That was that was it so far.
Okay.
we didn't get a lot of people in our. Actually, I've got 7 people watching right now, Mel.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's crazy. We're famous.
That's very nice.
Anyhow, I had no agenda for this. We were just goofing off in the garage. I'm glad you came out.
You're welcome.
Because otherwise, it's just my big silly ass sitting here yapping away all the time. All right. Craig says he's got a Goldwing 1800, Harley Heritage 114. He's got an Africa Twin. Nice. FZ07. Alex he'll be happy with that.
Okay.
A Kawasaki KLX 250, which I think, is that an Enduro? I'm not sure. The YZ 250X. I don't know which one that is.
And Jean says they made, she's talking about her 81 Honda 200. They made them starting 78 at
Well, no.
sorry, sorry, at 185, then bumped them up to 200s. Okay, for 1980 through 82. It's actually the pre-bike to the Rebel.
Let's see. Let's look this up.
Okay.
81 Honda 200 Twin. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is kind of like
Yep.
like they made a Nighthawk kind of thing too, but the engine looks a lot like the CMX 250 engine.
Mm-hmm.
So Honda had a CMX 250 Nighthawk, actually that was built for quite a few years in parallel with the Rebel, and it was kind of the same size bike. Interestingly enough, if we ever get this project done, I think the next one is going to be me combining the guts from a Rebel and a Nighthawk to try and make a cafe racer, because the Nighthawks, even the last generation they built, still had a front drum, but the forks are the same as they are on the Rebel, same diameter, same length. So I'm just going to swap out the front ends to get the front disc, and then might even try my hand at relacing wheels so I can get different diameter rims and put different tires on there, but actually like build a real cafe racer.
Yeah.
From the ground up. Cool thing is Dime City Cycles this year is one of their new items. They make a lot of bolt-on kind of stuff that people often use to build crappy cafe racers, which are bikes that don't run very well but kind of look like cafe racers, but they actually have some pretty good equipment. They have a frame jig now, so if you wanted to build like a hardtail out of an old motorcycle or a cafe racer where you have to cut the frame and then weld in sections, they've got a jig that will hold the head tube and clamp parts of the frame in space so that it stays straight. And it's not that expensive. I think it's like maybe $400 for the jig, and I could drill out the lift and bolt the jig down, and I can build a bike on the lift, and then all the geometry will be fixed in place so that, we build a bike that's safe to ride, not just looking cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Twin's pretty cool. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like it so much I might have to find one that's a basket case and use some parts from that to build the cafe racer.
Yeah.
Because the Nighthawks are actually kind of unusual to find. Honda didn't make a hell of a lot of those. All right, catching up on the chat here. Sorry, we had to look up the bike to know what we were talking about here. Yep, Nighthawks, they look different body design. Yeah. Street and trail. Yeah, I thought that was kind of like an enduro thingy. 2-stroke dirt bike. Yeah, see, I'm not very familiar with the dirt bikes. I never really got into them. I wanted a quad when I was a kid, like something fierce, but I never bought one because, well, we were poor. So I just looked at them in magazines and said, oh, but no. Not much power, but a blast to ride like a bicycle with an engine. That is exactly how I would describe the Honda Rebel.
Yeah.
It's, you know what, for bebopping around town, it's fun. Mm-hmm. But man, you get out on a country road and that thing's hitting 65 miles an hour, and it is damn near hitting the rev limiter on the motor. So yeah. I remember the first long trip we took. I wouldn't say cross country, but like away from the house, like almost about 180 miles in a day. Yeah. Melly rode the Rebel. Basically, in this iteration with the original fuel tank on, but with these tires and everything on. And she was trying to keep up at 65 on open country roads, and she's like, "I need a bigger bike." It's like, aha, I can make that happen.
My plan has worked.
Yeah, and then I brought home the behind Melly's head there, the Speedmaster. When I first brought that home, it was loaded to the gills with shit that the guy who owned it before was trying to make like a full bagger out of a bike that's supposed to not be a bagger. He had, let's see, he had highway bars on it, floorboards, backrest, passenger seat, light bar, windshield, on and on and on. I think I pulled almost 200 pounds of crap off of that bike, but it was a pretty heavy pig when it came home. Melly's like, "I'm not sure about this shit, man." Yeah. But then we stripped it all down. We pulled all the crap off of it. It didn't really make a bobber out of it. We just took all the unnecessary crap off of it.
Yeah.
Repaired all the stuff that was broken because it was kind of neglected. And then I put a progressive lowering kit on it. So it's almost 3 inches lower. And then there's the, I'm trying to remember who the name of that. It's not British Customs, but it's a company from England where we bought the seat from. I got it as a closeout online because it had a really horrible looking brown vinyl cover.
Is it Maverick?
Maverick Customs, yeah. And I had a local shop reupholster it the way it looks now with a like old bomber jacket, black leather, and a double diamond, double road stitches, and like this diamond pattern on it, and it looks sweet. And it's super low and it's fast and it makes lots of noise, and I hear Melly giggling in the intercom every time we go under an underpass because she'll just throttle rip that sucker. We had some old lady in a car give Melly thumbs up. Three old ladies. Was it a Camry or something like that?
I don't know, but there were three. I don't know how old they were.
Mel rev bombed the shit out of Solly on an underpass up there at Port Huron. And we got stuck in some traffic waiting. There's like a drawbridge for the boats to come through. And we got stuck there. And they were like giving Melly the thumbs up.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
It was. I was laughing my ass off because Melly showed that no mercy. She really got on at that time. I miss the Magna too, Craig. What I don't miss is the fact that every part on the Super Magna was made out of unobtainium. It actually is in the Barber... So Skip Barber has a racing school and a track and a museum down in Alabama, I think. And one of the guys who runs the museum in the restoration shop bought the Super Magna. And I don't know if they're going to put it in the museum. He talked about it. It's his own personal bike, but he's going to fully restore it. Not that it was like, all falling apart or anything, but he's going to like completely pull it apart and restore it like it was factory brand new. But it's basically going to be a show bike. It's not getting ridden anymore. I sold the Rebel so I could buy the Indian Scout because I wanted to have a bike I could ride, and I didn't have to worry about breaking something I couldn't get parts for, because they didn't make a hell of a lot of them. And then you take it, it was made in 88, so then it's 40 plus years old or getting close to it. And, finding simple parts for it is not easy. So I got one good long ride out of it. We rode down to Pennsylvania and rode around the Latrobe area, Greensburg, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And then down to the 9/11 memorial there for, which flight was that? The one that crashed?
Flight 93.
Flight 93? Yeah, the one that crashed into the countryside. So that was the one and only long trip I got on the Magna. And I can tell you for a fact that it is a horrible bike to ride on a long trip. I think they designed that for a Japanese rider, certainly not for a dude that's 6 foot tall and weighs like 225, 230 pounds, because I felt like I was cramped up like a circus bear on a bicycle on that thing. And I'd get off of it after about an hour ride and my knees and my ass was just barking. So, you couldn't get forward controls for it. The only way you can do a better seat would be to build a custom one.
Yeah.
So, now I've had actually multiple Magnas in my motorcycling life, and I love them all for the power, but I don't know. I wish Honda made a modern version of the Magna with a V4 because it's a great engine. It made a really great muscle cruiser, but it's just not what's popular anymore. It seems like naked sport bikes that look like robot vomit are all the rage right now. So, oh, I missed one from Twin Star here. Had my little since 92 and she still goes strong. Wow, 55,000 miles. That is pretty damn impressive. See, people think that a motorcycle gets like 10,000 miles on it and it's suddenly crap and they need to get rid of it.
Yeah.
That's like Audrey, the Roadliner. You know, it's got what, 17,000 miles on it or something like that.
Okay.
And that bike was probably $12,000 when it was new, and I paid just like, you know, around $3,200, $3,700 for it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't put that much work into it, but you know, people, especially in Michigan, because people just don't ride that often. And so by the time a bike gets close to 10,000 miles on it, that bike might be 12, 15 years old. And then they're like, oh, that's junk. I'm going to go get a new bike. Okay, fine. You know, we can turn a wrench. We'll pick it up, get it going again, and it'll be just like new. It's like the Triumph Speed 4. I picked that thing up. The kid, I should say, who owned it, lived down a dirt road and just abused the shit. I mean, that bike was just like dirty. It didn't run very well. I mean, you know, and I fixed all of that up and like made it almost like brand new. Yeah. And so you can get some pretty good deals on bikes if you don't mind doing the work on them. Let's see.
Oh, now it has over 100,000 miles. Wow.
Yeah, that's really, really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the new V Maxes. They're pretty sweet, but I don't know. I also like my Scout, and I think if I had cash to buy a brand new bike, it wasn't going to be another cruiser. It would probably be an FTR, but I wouldn't know which version of it I'd like. I kind of like the Indian FTR Carbon with the factory race colors, but I also like the Rally. I need a bike that's kind of an in-between because I like the spoke wheels. Someone just posted something else up.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, hi, looking in. I was wondering maybe, Gene, if you've got 100,000 miles on your bike, I was wondering maybe if you ride it to work or something like that.
You gotta be riding it a lot to put that kind of miles on it. Yeah.
That's, I mean, we're just kind of like, we don't put that many miles on it.
Yeah, well, but also like living in the Detroit metro area and trying to commute with your motorcycle is like asking for a death sentence. I mean, I do it from time to time. Sometimes it's scary and sometimes it's just you're sitting in traffic. We can't split the lanes in Michigan. So you can't, when cars are backed up bumper to bumper because you're taking the back roads versus taking the interstate, which I wouldn't take the freeway in Detroit area on a motorcycle. It doesn't matter how big the emergency is. If I got to be somewhere that important and that quickly, I will drive a car. I'm not riding my motorcycle. Yeah. People just drive like freaking idiots around here. And so, you know, riding locally is fine. You know, luckily we live on the east side of the metro area, right near Lake St. Clair. And so we can go up Jefferson. There's not that much traffic. And within, 20 minutes, we're up north of most of the metropolitan area and we're out like in the countryside, essentially. I mean, you still got to be aware of what's going on, but you don't have to be as paranoid as when you're riding through traffic all the time.
Yeah.
But when we're riding together, we've got the intercoms on and we're looking out for traffic. We're telling each other stuff that's going on, and we'll pre-stage the bikes to get in the right lane or the right portion of the lane we're in case we're going to turn or we're seeing somebody like, that we think might pull out. It's just
when to go through lights or stuff.
Yeah, you just got to have your head on a swivel all the time. But yeah, we try to avoid the congested areas as much as possible. We never ride on the big roads. Like, I don't even like riding down these 4-lane mega roads they have in Detroit, Michigan area. Like, we have these roads, like Hall Road's one of them. Then there's what mile road is Big Beaver? 16, yeah. Where it's like 4 lanes on each side, but it's not a freeway. It's just a road. And those things are a disaster, even trying to drive a car down them. Yeah, she pretty much rides everywhere.
Yeah. If I had to go somewhere, I took the bike, rain or shine. But remember, it's about 30 years that I've owned it. Yeah, I guess it
Nice.
adds up. That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, what part of, she's from Canada, right?
She said Ontario, right? So.
Well,
Yeah.
wow, that would be pretty impressive if that's all around the Toronto area, because the traffic around Toronto could be nuts. We've been through Toronto many times. Actually, when we go on vacations that are outside the U.S., we always fly out of Toronto because it's so much cheaper. The short amount of time, relatively short amount of time it takes to drive from like either Detroit to crossing through Windsor or going up through Sarnia and Port Huron, it's like a 3.5 hour drive tops, unless you get caught in traffic. And it's like thousands of dollars cheaper to fly out of Toronto than it is to fly, even if it's a direct flight.
Yeah.
You can't get cheaper to fly to Europe or anywhere else than to fly through Canada. So we go through Canada quite a bit when we travel.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice to go there though.
Yeah.
It's a nice drive.
We
It's
have
not
to
too bad.
we have to ride one of these days. We'll have to ride around Lake Superior and go through the Canada side, because that's a nice trip we can do, and we don't have to really go like a super long distance to kind of get away from it all.
Yeah, kind of a lake.
Good Lord,
No, good Lord, not Toronto. As I'm about 2 hours north of Toronto. Okay.
Detroit is your selling point. Yeah, how the hell did we end up in Detroit?
What do you say? Okay, I had a guy offer me a job with an Italian company once. He said I wouldn't have to go to Italy, but I would go to Alabama, California, Chicago, and Detroit. I said Detroit is your selling point.
Well, yeah, it's Detroit. No, honestly,
there's some nice areas.
Yeah, you know what?
Michigan there's a lot of beauty in Michigan. So.
Yeah, even in the wintertime, like I would say, I keep saying this every year. We're not skiers, so I mean, there's places you can go skiing and whatnot. But if you have a snowmobile or an ORV off-road vehicle, they're just called ORVs in the state of Michigan because you can get a special permit. You get a certain distance north in the old mitten there, and there are crap tons of ORV trails that just kind of spiderweb the state, and they're completely off the road. They go through woods and fields and things like that. There are like camping resorts that you can go to that are just yurts, like those round tent looking things where you can they're like cabins you can stay at. There are restaurants and B&Bs you can go to that you can only get to with ORV vehicles. So you can do stuff in the wintertime and have fun, but I don't like going out in the cold, so we just hide at the house and screw around in the garage and do this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of towns in Michigan which were nice that we visited.
Yeah,
Tawas, we have a friend of ours that has a brewery and restaurant called the Boathouse Beer Company and Boozery that's in Tawas, and just the town of Tawas is really cool.
Yeah.
And that whole area, I mean, you could still buy vacation cabins and things like that for extremely cheap. For the price of a new SUV, you can have a cabin that you can stay in anytime you want to go visit, and it's like that in a lot of areas of Michigan. And then there's there's Traverse City, there's where did we stay?
Around the thumb, Port Austin area. That was nice.
Yeah.
It's nice to go loop around.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of towns that are around the perimeter of Michigan that are pretty sweet.
Yep.
I mean, we haven't explored all of it. And then there's towns in the UP, like Copper Harbor's pretty cool up there at the very tip of the UP. But I guess we could do the Superior Loop. That's another thing we can do.
Yeah.
If riding out the Pacific Northwest just doesn't work out logistically, we can do the big loop around Lake Superior and then stay on the Canadian side and just come back over the bridge, or even ride it all the way down to. I'm not sure if I want to cross over in Detroit. It's kind of a pain in the ass. There's a lot of trucks and stuff there, but we'll figure it out. We can always take the barge across the St. Clair River. You can cross over through customs there. There's like a car ferry.
Yeah.
That's
Well, let's
in.
see about any COVID restrictions or
Yeah, there's
testing
that.
or anything like that. I don't know right now.
Yeah, well, no, you got to do the test.
Yeah.
So we'd have
Probably
to.
the day before.
Yeah, I think so.
That'll probably still be in place. But yeah.
Yeah, for now and forever.
Yeah. our trip last year around Michigan.
That's pretty cool.
That was nice. We visited a lot of nice places. And I can't remember all the names of the towns, but
I like that little golf resort that we were practically the only people at. That was
near Petoskey.
Yeah, Petoskey. And then there was a place on Lake Onekama that was north of Manistee.
Yeah, I think so.
And that actually was my favorite place. We found this little motel near Lake Onekama, which is just like a little inland lake that's connected to Lake Michigan. And it's north of Manistee and
yeah, I'm
on the west coast side of it. Like I would say south of Sleeping Bear Dunes and all that.
Yeah.
And that place was freaking awesome. They had their own little dock right out on the lake across the street. And then there was an actual, in some little town in Michigan in the middle of nowhere, there was a gourmet restaurant that was within staggering distance of the motel.
Walking.
Stagger. Yeah,
we didn't stagger.
Walking distance. But that was a nice place. It was a good, we could have stayed there an extra day, I think.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you one place in Michigan, Mount Pleasant isn't pleasant at all. Mount Unpleasant. I think the only thing that makes it pleasant is the college that's there and all of like the casinos. But we were like, meh. We could have just rode straight to Frankenmuth that day and just stayed there and
maybe
had an extra night at Frankenmuth.
Frankenmuth was nice to stay at a couple nights.
Yeah, we did 2 days there.
Yeah.
So we got there, chilled one day, and then the second day just walked around, ate and drank all day long. Which was actually what solidified the patio here on the garage, because like we were sitting there. So at the Bavarian Inn, not Zender's, they kind of are across the street from each other in Frankenmuth. And the Bavarian Inn, so I can't forget it. I get it all. So Frankenmuth is like a little town in Michigan that was settled by German immigrants, and it's kind of like going to like, you know, just like a little slice of Germany, and the Bavarian Inn, everything's decorated to make it look like it's in Germany and all that. And so people come to Frankenmuth for that, and then there's also Bronner's, which is like a Christmas store that's open 364 days a year. They're closed on Christmas Day, but like, and they sell Christmas stuff all year long. There's a lot of tourists going. It's just a little farm town, like off the beaten trail. And you have to, there's no freeway that goes to it. You get off Interstate 75 northbound, like north of Flint, Michigan, and then you just go out into the country and then turn left and head north. And then you run into Frankenmuth. It's just some farm town that, like, you know, that is a big tourist attraction. That place was pretty neat.
Yeah.
We were sitting in the Bavarian Inn's beer garden that they kind of rigged up with like a tent that they put up. And just like an outside bar, and we had like pretzels and beer and stuff. It's like, we're gonna do this on the garage. We're gonna put a patio out there and turn it into our own beer garden. And I kind of drove the whole like Cabana Lights patio, like awning. At some point in time, I'm gonna have the kegerator set up and all that. Then, you know, we could just sit at home and roast, clink, and get hammered at our own house while we're drinking beer and eating pretzels. And we blast oompa music and drive our neighbors crazy.
Yeah, I have to learn how to bake my own pretzels.
Yes,
make my own.
soft pretzels, fresh from the oven.
Yeah, swing them around, tie them in a little knot, and try to make my own.
That'd be sweet.
They'll probably come out all deformed and.
We'll eat them anyhow. They're pretzel sticks then, right?
Yeah.
Well, hey, I think we're gonna sign off here soon. We've been going now for an hour and 34 minutes. So
it says, always be leery of any place that has a name that makes it sound nice.
Yeah. Mount Pleasant.
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah,
it pleasant
yeah.
here? It's so pleasant. Any last minute questions before we sign off from the live stream for the throngs of fans that are out there? Actually, thanks for everyone who showed up. I mean, I put out the notice like, 72 hours ago. I I on the creator side of it, when I set up the live stream, all I know is that I set it up. And I'm assuming that people get notification when it goes out, but YouTube really doesn't give me any tools on my side to let me know that people have been notified. I think my channel now has 4,300 subscribers, and maybe 9, 10 people unique like actually showed up to the live stream. So I don't know if, unless people have the little notification bell icon, like whether or not they actually saw that this thing came across. Not that I expected 4,000 people to show up and watch us eat spicy popcorn, but I thought maybe it would be more than like 10 people would get a notification at least. But I don't do this because I think we're going to be rich and famous from YouTube. We do it because it's fun. Get the goof off. Plus, we get to hang out with our friends, like we got our friends. Well, 2 of our friends are on here for sure, Alex and Lola. So, and well, yeah, Luke and Ann are on here too.
Yeah. But Jean asks, how's Barney coming along? So that's probably.
Oh yeah, I'll go over that real quick. It's kind of a recap because I was blathering on about Barney before I think she got in here.
Okay.
We haven't touched Barney since the garage came down and the garage got rebuilt. When last I worked on Barney, I had, and this didn't end up on camera because quite honestly, crap was just so, I'll just be straight up with you. It was boring and depressing being constantly locked up. My job at the time was extremely awful. And so I would just come out to the garage and work on stuff. I didn't want to deal with recording and editing video. And I just wanted to come out here and like tune out of everything, which is kind of the whole point of our garage. I mean, we got a TV up in here that's got the fire going on it. And like, Melly and I'll sit out here and watch Seinfeld episodes and just hang out. Like my brother-in-law, Chris, comes to visit and we'll just hang out in the garage and shoot the shit. So part of it's for working on bikes and keeping the motorcycles we have like, nice and out of the weather. The other part of it is just to get the hell away from like the world in general, all the horse shit with social media and everybody's political agendas that are freaking cramming down your throat 24/7. It gets to be a bit much. But so Barney, with Barney, the main updates that we did was we welded tabs on the fuel tank so that it bolts to the frame like the original fuel tank did. And then there's a blue collar bobbers Springer seat on Barney using their bracket. Now they make a bolt-on kit for Honda Rebels to turn into bobbers, but that's with the original fuel tank. Because I've got this CB500T fuel tank from a 500 twin from like the mid 70s. It wasn't a direct bolt-on deal. So I modified the fuel tank with some 1/8-inch thick steel plate that I made that locates it to the factory locations for a Honda Rebel. So now this tank is a bolt-on. It bolts right onto the original mounting points. The problem is that now the front pivot point, where the Springer seat mounts is not in the right spot. So that's going to be the next project, is to come up with some idea here for the Springer seat that makes sense. And I've been actually, it's kind of interesting when you take a step back and you don't rush to try and do these projects. You come up with a solution that you're like, shit, why didn't I think of that in the first place? Because I've been thinking about like how I had to modify the bracket to get the seat to bolt up and still be able to undo the fuel tank without having to take a bunch of crap apart. And then it dawned on me, it's like, well, there's a bracket that's bolted to the seat. Why don't I just modify that? It's like the way easier solution and will take a lot less time and it'll be more elegant. It'll be simple. You won't have to take 5 things off the bike. So, sometimes with a project, it has to come to a stop and you just have to sit and stare at it for a while to figure out where you're going to take it next. I know that we're going to get Melly to do some welding on the stuff that we need to make to bolt on the other things.
I'm going to try.
Yeah?
I'll try.
Well, it's going to be, what it's going to be is a lot of tabs and brackets we have to make up. I've got a set of TC Brothers custom fenders for the front and rear. They're very slick. I went over them in a video once before. I need to re-radius those. I'm going to get a set of shrinker stretcher dies from Harbor Freight, and they're just little steel metalworking dies that will either squish the metal out or it'll draw it in. And when you do it along the fender edge, it'll change the radius of the fender, because TC Brothers sells all kinds of different size fenders because they have a roller die where they take a flat piece of sheet metal and it rolls through the die, and it will progressively form it to whatever diameter you need, but it only goes so small. So the front one's pretty close, but the back one is off. I would say they're not really designed to go down to a 15-inch diameter wheel. So what we have to do is just take the shrinker stretcher and run it along both edges of the fender to kind of pull in the fender radius slightly, and then cut the fender to where we want it. Use some, I don't know, like aquarium tubing or hosing or something like that to space it up off the tire so we have enough room for the tire to expand when it's traveling at speed. And then just use some like bar stock that we can get at the hardware store, bend it up to make fender struts. And a lot of that's going to be fairly easy welding. So what we can do between us is we'll just get a bunch of scrap. I've got a pile of metal stock sitting on a shelf over here. And we'll just set scrap up, and Melly can sit there and practice weld on it until we get the settings just right.
Yeah.
Because most of these welds are going to get ground down, and the parts are going to get powder coated, so there's not a lot of pressure for
I don't have to make it look pretty.
Right. It doesn't have to look like a row of dimes laid over or anything like that, you know.
I wasn't too bad.
No, she took a couple welding courses, and her beads look better than mine. One. Yeah.
One. It was a half day introduction to MIG welding through a nonprofit called Women Who Weld, and
that's a really cool nonprofit too, because they teach welding skills to women.
Yeah.
And like so
they can get jobs.
So they can get not just jobs but high-paying jobs. Yeah, that are careers. Like some of these jobs will pay more than what college grads make, and you don't need to have. Well, I mean, some companies will require a high school diploma, but in reality, as long as you have the certification for welding, which they help you get, then you can go out and get a job that's making like $60,000-$70,000 a year welding stuff, you know.
But they had, every once in a while they offer a half day class where they just teach you some basics, and then they also had like a week-long training, and then I think they had a 6-week course, and I think at least the 6-week course I think was subsidized, so any donations and things or the charges, the cost of going to the half-day course kind of goes towards funding the 6-week course for some of these ladies that apply to get into that.
We should see if we can get you in the week-long course, because I think you still have more vacation than I do from work. Yeah. And then you can take that, and even though you're not working towards a welding certification, we can see if we can just go ahead and pay for the course or make a donation. Yeah. So then you can take the course, but then it still helps out the charity, and then that way both parties are benefited. Melly learns how to weld better, and then they get more money in for the women who want to learn it as a skill to make a career out of it. Because I think we talk about crazy stuff like we want to put like a web camera kind of thing into a yard sculpture and put like some giant Tin Man out in the front yard with like a webcam built in so we can spy on people when they're walking by. Well, what's cool is one of these days I'm going to take a picture of it and post it up for you guys. There's like a couple blocks over. There's a guy in their front yard that has a giant rusty steel Tyrannosaurus Rex that they welded up out of scrap. And now there's like a baby Tyrannosaurus Rex beside it. Yeah. It's crazy. I love it. Yeah. Their freaking neighbors either love it or hate them. But so I want like that. And for maybe we'll just weld up a giant cat and then have like a pair of like cameras for eyes that are constantly like looking at people. Yeah.
Yeah. Craig wants to know what kind of bike lift do you have, and Gene says, "I get what you mean, tuning out the world, all through 2020. Oh, she built a 8x10 house for her twin star and her newly acquired
Ooh.
Kimco 250 Vinox to house them, and this is so cool and having fun. Yep.
Yep. I actually like that Kimco 250 Vinox. You know, that's that bike is interesting. It is in Japan. They made a 250 Honda Magna. Not many people know about it, and like so, part of the frame and suspension on that Kimco 250 Vinox is actually identical to a Magna 750, like the front forks, like a lot of the bike is.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put their own 250 engine into it, which I think is actually so Kimco continues to make this very engine, the CMX 250. Even though the Honda Rebel 250 is no longer produced by Honda, what a lot of people don't know is that even up to 2014, Honda didn't actually make the Honda Rebel 250. It was made on consignment by Kimco. So there's a 250. I don't remember what model it is. Basically, you can look at it and say, okay, that engine's exactly the same as a Honda Rebel. It's because it is. Like they were co-manufacturing it for Honda. And so some of the parts that we've gotten for Barney, like I think the last seal that didn't leak for the crank seal was actually a Kimco part. It had the Kimco part number on the box. And so did the gasket set. So fun fact is, so that's cool. Like the Kimco 250, she has one of those. It's kind of a Honda / Honda Magna hybrid made in Korea by a company called Kimco.
Nice.
But it's a cool looking bike. It's got this kind of exhaust. Like it comes up at an angle like almost like the modern VMAX does.
Yeah.
It's cool. But let's see. Kind of bike lift. Sorry, I got sidetracked there.
Oh yeah.
This is a Black Widow rift. This is a Black Widow rift. It's a Black Widow lift. I was going to get the Harbor Freight one. It was significantly cheaper, but a lot of people review the Harbor Freight motorcycle lift and they like it, but it came down to whether or not I trusted the seals in the lift to hold the damn thing up while I'm working on a heavy bike. And I just couldn't bring myself to trust a lift that cost like $425. This thing was about $1,200. They did get free shipping, and my buddy Luke helped me pick it up from Spartan Cycle because
Thanks, Luke.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. It's delivered by freight, so it has to be dropped off by a truck, and I wasn't going to be at home when they were going to drop it off, so my local Indian dealer was nice enough to allow me to have it delivered there, and then we drug it home one weekend on the Kendon back there, and then like Luke and his son Jacob helped me, unload it, and then I set the lift up. But yeah, and it's got a proper like clamp for the front wheel, where the Harbor Freight one's pretty tiny. I mean, people modify the Harbor Freight one to make it better, but the one thing that doesn't get modified is the cylinder. I don't trust the hydraulic cylinder to hold the bike up. And I mean, there are safety interlocks with it, but like when it's not locked in at a specific height, you're trusting that the weight of the motorcycle, and this is supposed to lift up to 1,200 pounds.
Okay.
You're trusting that 1,200 pounds is being supported by the seals in a lift that is made as cheaply as possible in China. So yeah, I got the Black Widow lift. It came from discountramps.com as a website. So you check them out online and you can see which ones they offer. This one's just a foot pump one. They have one with you can hook an air hose up to and it'll automatically raise and lower it. Oh, I got more people. Springy's online. How's it going, Springy?
Springy.
He's one of the Idiot Collective now.
Yes, I remember. Kimco copied or stole so many features from other bikes that is not
that it's not funny.
That is not funny, yeah. And I think it's funny that you know of the Kimco Vinox, but not the Twin Star.
It's funny. I know the Vinox because I happened to. I don't know why. I had a Gen 3 Honda Magna. It was a 96. It was the one that was kind of like a lavender color with the white scallops on the tank. We lived in Rochester. I bought that.
Yeah.
So where was I? I was on some forum somewhere, and people were talking about how Kimco was using Magna parts on the bike. And I mean, you can totally tell the forks, the front wheel, the brakes, the handlebars, the gauges, everything was sniped completely from the Magna.
Yeah.
But then it had a 250 engine in it. And come to find out, in Japan, they actually made a 250 Magna.
Okay.
And so Kimco is basically building that bike under license. I think they actually made it for Honda. And then when Honda discontinued it, they just continued to make it as their own product. And they came up with a new name. I think they changed the styling slightly, but mechanically it's the same bike. And so it's like a Rebel Magna hybrid. That's how I learned about it, was on the Magna side, because at that time Melly didn't ride and there was no Barney. So I didn't even have a Rebel 250. So, you know. Oh,
Oopsie.
dropping your stuffs.
Yeah.
Thanks, Springy. Yeah, the garage came out great. I've got a couple of last thing we'll talk about before we sign off. Now that it's almost at the 2 hour mark, you believe I've been blathering on for 2 hours here, Melly? So I have got this fascination with making the garage the Zen area to come and hang out in. So I bought a set of LEDs. They're like little strip LEDs that are on it's almost like a tape. And it's got an adhesive on it, but I got little clips to hold it up. And they're sequential, multicolor LEDs. So there's like an integrated circuit chip every so many LEDs. And you can turn it on like different colors. You can randomly have the colors change. You can have them run around as like a marquee thing. You can, I mean, it's crazy. It could be white or like millions of different colors, and you can control it with an app. You can control it with Google or Alexa. They got it where you can make it synchronize and dance to music, or it can display the same colors that are on the edge of your TV that like act as mood lighting. And then I asked for Christmas this thing called a Galaxy Projector. So it projects a nebula where you can control the colors of the nebula, and then a star field on top of that in 3D, like on everything. So the idea is when we're in here watching TV and stuff, because when a TV's on, it's kind of harsh to have the workshop lights on because they're really bright. It's like an operating room in here. That's how bright the lights are. And that was by choice, so that when we're working on the bike, you know, we can see stuff. It's easier to work on the bike. But when you just want to chill out in the garage and have a beer and bullshit and not really care about stuff, it's a little bright in here. So when you kill the lights and just have the TV on by itself, it's not bright enough. So the idea is I want to put all that stuff in here for like mood lighting, because, you know, this is Melly and I's clubhouse. This is where I come hang out and not give a crap about anything else. So yeah, I'm waiting for that. That's kind of my Christmas project on the garage, is to kind of do that. We'll see if I get my Galaxy Projector or not. That, and I gotta find some really awful 70s style bar stools that like people are throwing out, because that'd be kind of cool. If I can't find those, I've got a solution. I found a company, an American company, that makes old school folding lawn chairs. We're not talking about the modern ones that are like canvas. It's actually the old nylon webbing. And
where they're woven.
Where it's woven, yeah. And like,
and it leaves marks on the back of your
yeah,
leg.
these grill marks on your ass when you've been sitting on it too long.
Yeah.
Exactly those. And you can get them in the traditional colors, but I get it red and black. So kind of like the whole Indian theme. So that'd be slick. And then I've got that leftover Rubbermaid like storage system stuff. I can just hook those on the wall and store them up on the wall when we're not using them.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we're trying to make this place like a guest house for us when we want to get away from ourselves.
Yeah.
You can literally sleep out here. It's pretty warm, you know. It's pretty nice. It's actually, I can't believe how quiet it is in here. I wish our house is as insulated as nicely as the garage is, because it really does get super duper quiet. We live by not that far away from I-94. It's like a block and a half away, and then there's like one of those like concrete walls that deflects the noise. But when you're outside, you can hear the cars driving by on the highway. And if it rains, you can hear the sound that the wheels over the water makes. So when you come in the garage, you don't hear any of that. It's dead quiet in here. You can probably take the best nap ever in here.
Yeah.
Get you a couch, put some blankies on it, bring the cats in from outside, let them hang out. Yeah. Just sleep the sleep of a zombie. All right, everybody. Well, it's now almost the 2 hour mark, so I think we're going to sign out. I appreciate everybody stopping by.
Yes, thank you.
Hopefully you weren't bored to death with our nonsense, or you were extremely entertained by our goofing off eating spicy popcorn earlier. It was pretty good.
It wasn't bad.
Hopefully it doesn't boomerang us.
Yeah.
So let's see. How the hell do I sign this thing off, Mel?
I don't know.
All right.
Yes,
Well, bye, everybody. I'm signing
Bye,
off.
everyone. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And happy holidays. And yep. Peace and love to you, Springy. Thanks.
Merry Christmas.